I used to work with people with mental disabilities, and I did this for years. I was working with them in like a residential house. And so we would have like three people with mental disabilities that we would be taking care of 24/7, right? 24/7. It was their house, essentially. And I learned a lot from these kinds of people. I learned a lot about just the ways to be. I remember working with some people with Down syndrome, and these were some of the most loyal, chill, and easygoing people I've ever met in my life. They were just a bundle of joy, right? They were very chill. But it seems to me like the spiritual version of Down syndrome is much more severe. And I'm not trying to like make fun of Down syndrome people, because in my in my view and estimation, people with Down syndrome are actually way more happy about their life than people that are always addicted to things, or they are constantly trying to curate something better. Like businessmen, for example, are often very much so like never satisfied with what they have. Like they're never content, right? It's always more, more, more. They're very greedy. Like some of the most greedy people I know have spiritual disabilities, I swear. And it's the same thing with anybody, like whether it's gluttony, whether it's any of the seven deadly sins, but particularly when it comes to lust. And by the way, welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account, because what I want to talk about is the spiritual disability that is lust to some degree. I don't know if you guys realize this, but a lot of you have a spiritual disability when it comes to lust. And I'm not saying that you can't cure it, because you totally can. And Jesus even says himself in the Bible, be your own physician. And you can't really truly be healed until you can be your own physician. Because otherwise, what would it be, right? So what kind of person can you be and would you be if you can't heal your own spiritual self? And of course, it doesn't mean that you can't have support or that you can't have this or that, but you're going to need to know how to do that on your own, right? And it seems to me like a lot of people have like spiritual Down syndrome or something, but it's like the opposite of what other people with actual Down syndrome are experiencing. It's like this inverted, it's like up syndrome. It's like spiritual up syndrome. Because it's like they're not in hell. They think that they're in heaven. They think that they're in this state of bliss, but they're actually in hell. Whereas the people with Down syndrome, isn't it funny like how a lot of people that don't know people with Down syndrome or whatever, or any kind of disability, because I met a lot of different people with different disabilities in that line of work that I was in. And one of the nicest guys I've ever met, like, okay, this guy was a big dude, right? And he was like 5'11" and maybe 250 pounds. He was super strong, but he was like a huge teddy bear with me. And the only reason why is because I spoke to him. Like, he couldn't actually speak words. He couldn't actually speak legitimate words. But man, he had to wear like a helmet, because sometimes he would like hit his head and all that against the wall. But he was like the sweetest guy, sweetest boy, man. Like he just was obviously he was a man, but he has the mentality of like a 3 or 4 year old. But he's super smart, dude. He's super smart. And again, he's really strong, and he just likes to play with his toys. That's all he loves to do. He really just loves to play with his toys and eat pizza. That's what he did, like 24/7. Dude, these people, and you know what's crazy is these like outside people, these normal people, they thought these people were in hell with like Down syndrome or all these other disabilities. Meanwhile, they were some of the happiest people I knew. Like, yeah, they would have their, angry outbursts and whatever, but they would just go with it, and they would experience that angry outburst, and then they would come back to baseline. Like, they would act like it didn't even happen, because they live in the moment. They were just there, right? Very momentary. And I'm not trying to, say that, they're not all there, even though they aren't all there, but that's why they have a mental disability. But they were some of the most sophisticated people, right, on the outside. Now, what does this have to do with semen retention? Well, and it's because of the lust thing, right? It's because so often I see men like thinking that they're, in heavenliness, but they're actually in hell. Whereas the same people who are acting this way, who can't get themselves disciplined when it comes to semen retention, it's like the same thing that happens is that they think that those kinds of people with mental disabilities are in hell. Meanwhile, these people don't worry. People with mental disabilities don't even worry about themselves. They literally have people taking care of them most of the time. And you know what? Like, sure, there's going to be boundaries and such to be said and to have and in that type of environment and relationship. But, for the most part, they don't have to worry about taxes. They don't have to worry about, anxiety. They don't have to worry about depression. They just live, dude. They just live. And I think what semen retention offers you is the ability to just live. You can just live. You don't have to be so mentally and spiritually disabled. Like, when you're like, if you don't have to be, right? Like, if you don't actually have a legitimate mental disability and you're on semen retention and you are like caught up in anxiousness and depression and all these blah, 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 you're literally psyching yourself out, dude. You're psyching yourself out. It's really not as deep as you're making it out to be. And semen retention offers you this ability to kind of reframe yourself. It offers you this ability to redefine what it means to be and to live in accordance to your own understanding of God's laws, statutes, and commandments. It's so great because you get to be gifted. Like, you get to open your gifts, so to speak, right? Like, God's given you gifts, but maybe you don't even know that he's given you the gifts because you have to like develop a certain extent to get to the point where God can give you the gift so that you can open it and then give it back. Because the whole point of life, in some sense, is to give your gift. What else would it be? And I think that the people that are gifted, they're chill and they're just silently living, like they're not trying to get in anybody's business. They're just doing their thing. I think those are the kinds of men on semen retention that are going to be ultimately living the best life. And I'm not saying that you need to be silent in order to be properly socialized. Okay, that's not what I'm saying at all, because that's not the way. And I'm going to talk about that more in the Path of the Golden Lion event here in a few hours. And by the way, registration for that is now closed. Okay, because today's the last day. So everybody that signed up, they're all signed up. They're ready to go. Everybody else, sorry, it's no more anymore. Anyway, registration is closed. But the whole point is that to be properly socialized as a man, sometimes it takes a lot of stoic silence for you to understand what it truly means to better comprehend the echo of a whisper, perhaps, right? Or perhaps the echo of truth. You sometimes need to be able to sit in silence. If you can't sit in silence with yourself, if you can't not do something, like, because you just have to do something, you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do this, I would quietly encourage you to just chill. Dude, you just play with your music instruments, or play a game, play a board game or something. Just chill and go for a walk. Enjoy the sunshine. You know what I used to do with these people with mental disabilities? We would always go to the park and we would just sit and watch the ducks. Seriously, that's what we would do. We would go to the frickin' park and watch the ducks in the lake. Like, it wasn't a big lake, but it was, it was just a little lake or pond. We would just sit and watch the ducks sometimes, and we'd just chill, and we'd just talk about the ducks. like, And these people were so much more happy, right? Like that satisfied their soul to just go watch the ducks. So maybe instead of trying to like think about how you can get off corn and how I can stop doing this and how can I not relapse? How can I, bro, just go live your life and watch the ducks. Go chill. Go for a walk or something. Like just chillax and explore your gifts. Okay, I love to play the guitar and I also love to paint and I really like to write. Obviously, because I have a whole book. I have a whole book that I wrote. So I love to write. I love to do these creative things. I love to do a lot of creative endeavors. But ultimately, I can just chill if I really wanted to. I really can. It's not always easy because I know my time is limited, but I know that I need to actively rest sometimes. And it's interesting how with semen retention, people will get like so amped up, you know, because they're not used to this kind of energy before, like, because they're used to being depleted coomers. So they have to like, you know, they can't sleep, they can't do this, they can't do that. They just have so much energy. It's like, well, that's part of the purification process, man. But maybe what you need to do is to be able to go chill and watch the ducks. It's really that simple. It doesn't need to be so complex. Life doesn't need to be so hard. We make life, we normal people with spiritual up syndrome, a lot of us have spiritual up syndrome where you think you're in heaven, but you're actually in hell. Okay? And the people that are actually with Down syndrome, and I'm just speaking about this specifically to really drive home a point, okay? But it's like, you guys think, because I've heard people when they tell me, or when I tell them, yeah, I used to work with people with mental disabilities, they'll be like, oh, wow. Well, good for you. Good for you. And I'm just like, it really wasn't that crazy. Like when I think back, you know what the craziest thing was? There was one craziest thing that I remember, and that one was crazy. But the guy, he had to wear a diaper. Okay, he had to wear a diaper, and he really like didn't have any kind of like cognitive faculties at all. What he loved to do is he liked to chill, and he liked to watch like Bible movies. He never said a word. Like old Bible movies too. Like I'm talking like from the 60s and 70s. He would just watch those all day long, and over again and over again and over again and over. Like he would watch those day by day, like the same 3 or 4 movies. That's all he would do, like every single day. Or he would watch old basketball videos and such. That's it. That's all that this person would do. But he was like, for the most part, when he didn't have those angry outbursts, he was chill. But there was one time where he took his diaper, and it was a poopy diaper, and he was flinging it around and threw it at the wall, and there was all kinds of crap on the wall, literally and figuratively. And that was a mess. That was very messy, and that was a really rough thing. But other than that kind of stuff, when I think back, it's like it really wasn't that bad, you know. Like it wasn't that bad of a life for these people. They had a pretty good life, and they just got to live it, and they made the most out of it. And I think that we could learn something from these people with mental disabilities and start to let go of our own spiritual disabilities, so to speak. Because a lot of people do. A lot of people think they're in heaven, or they're in heavenliness, or they're on the right track, and they're just not even close. So you've got to be able to relax, chill, explore your gifts, and just exist, man. Like like you don't have to be doing amazing things all the time to live a fun, fulfilling life. I don't know if you've ever been told that before, but you don't have to be this extremely talented, extremely gifted person. Like, yes, you're gifted. Everybody has gifts, but you don't have to be here all the time to experience the totality of life. And just because you might be down here doesn't mean that you're not in the totality. All right? So chill out, relax, and enjoy life a little bit. Okay? It'll be all right. It'll be all right. I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace be with you. Until next time.